Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast brought to you by Twisted Tea and My Bookie. I'm your host, Mike Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What's up, you old sick Tennessee Hoper?
Hey, I'm here, man. I am here. It's also brought to you by antibiotics and steroids. So, man, I'll tell you, I figured if Brock Bowers can make it out there with one ankle, I can make it with strep throat. So, yes, I am here, and we're not live. I told Mike, I said, I have no problem going live, but I said, I'm going to be blowing my nose. So I said, I'm sure the people at home ain't going to want to listen to that. So we'll at least be able to have a few stops here. But other than that, Mike, doing good, brother.
Yeah, and before we get rolling, Shane, we got another bourbon in the mail.
Yeah.
We'll put that up for the viewers there. And obviously, we're a responsible podcast, so Shane's under the weather. So this one's on me right here. I'm going to pop her open. I do appreciate. Oh, and here's the box. Sorry, let me. This is from.
It's for Butch.
Butch, appreciate you, cousin Butch, for coming through with the New Riff single barrel. Can't wait to barrel this bad boy down. You know what?
Yeah, Butch is also a whiskey connoisseur. I think a lot of folks are up there in Kentucky. You know, it's like the listed hobby you have on a work application. But cousin Butch coming through, used to play for the University of Kentucky, had a surgery coming up, wanted to go ahead and get this knocked out. So thinking about you, brother. I hope you're doing well. And thank you for this fine Kentucky bourbon. I wish I had some. Probably helped me out, you know. Growing up, that's what we used to do with that rock candy. So, but yeah, how's it taste? Is it good?
That's some damn fine bourbon, let me tell you. So appreciate you, Butch. Thank you for being a man of your word. We got, we're not going to go long on this one. We got the SEC mailbag. We got some great questions, Shane. So we're going to dive into that in just a moment. But before we do, a couple of injury updates, Shane. This is that time of year. Everybody's banged up, but obviously the quarterbacks play such a huge importance to these games. So let's do a quick rundown, Shane, from this. This is almost all exclusively from the Wednesday's coaches teleconference.
Okay.
Brian Kelly says, Jayden Daniels, we are expecting him to practice on Wednesday. If things go well in practice on Wednesday, he will be cleared for contact on Thursday. So no definitive, but it certainly sounds like Jayden Daniels going to suit up for them LSU Tigers as they host Florida. And obviously, in my opinion, still the SEC's best Heisman candidate here. Being without him, LSU's a completely different team. So this sounds like good news for the Tigers.
No, this is good news. Have you checked the spread on this one? Because I know it was moving around quite a bit, maybe because of this news. And now that we've got it out there, I wonder how it's changed.
Yeah, I'll look that up right now, Shane. Tigers Stadium, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central's going to be incredible. And currently, line has not changed. LSU 13 and a half.
Get on there, guys. Get on there.
Head on over to my bookie. But what other one, Shane? Well, we got several, actually. But Devin Leary, according to offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, Kentucky's quarterback, got banged up against Mississippi State. He will play against Bama.
Okay.
That's huge because no one's going to be picking Kentucky to beat Alabama. But without Devin Leary, that mountain much more difficult. So I don't know if momentum's the right word, but some optimism that if you're a Wildcat fan, that you can pull off the upset of all upsets this weekend in Lexington.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously you're going to need every miracle, every ounce of luck to fall your way. And brother, I'm with you. Leary has taken some monumental steps here the last couple of weeks, and I think even take Alabama out of the picture, just losing him for another week, I think that would mess that up. So obviously, I think this is a win-win for them Wildcats, and again, they definitely need him.
The Bluegrass Miracle Part 2. I'm just saying. All right, how about Max Johnson, Shane, Texas A&M quarterback? Sounds like he will play as well, according to Jimbo Fisher. He's practicing. He's doing what he needs to do, and that was his response when asked, "Hey, is Max Johnson, is he still good to go? Is he going to likely play, and all indications, Jimbo Fisher says yes. Max Johnson, who, he made some mistakes against Ole Miss, but again, when you find out how injured he is, I think you give him a little bit of a pass. So, as banged up as Max Johnson is, he still had a hell of a game against Ole Miss, and they desperately need him because they got to get on the winning side for Jimbo's sake this weekend against Mississippi State.
I always think about if you're having a good game, how like the quarterback or the running back would take them offensive line out to eat, Right. I think them offensive line need to be taking Max Johnson out to eat every night. You know what I'm saying?
And then, hey, sticking to that same game, last one here, Shane. Will Rogers, Mississippi State quarterback, of course, record-setting quarterback. According to Zach Arnett, he's practicing, and he's listed as day-to-day. So, no confirmation whether he'll suit up or not against the Aggies, but that would be a huge boost. It's funny how these – remember early in the season, Shane, everybody's saying, God, we just got to hand this to Mike Wright. And now they're like, my God, when can we get Will Rogers back?
I've been telling you the whole time, yeah. I was in that camp too, but, man, we've seen the other side. We're ready for Will to come back.
Absolutely. All right, Shane, SEC mailbag. Yes, sir.
Have you heard anything about I saw Brock. They said that he potentially is going to play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the biggest one there. So, yeah, nothing official, Shane, but I just listened to a lot of people. I've talked to a couple people. I think Brock Bowers is going to play on Saturday. I really do. Now, this is his – well, he could come back for a senior year, but let's not kid ourselves. He's probably a top 5 pick. I don't think he's coming back. So I'm not trying to put the cart in front of the horse here, but this would be his last opportunity, Shane, to play in Athens. I think, all things considered, that's playing a part here. And just based on what I know, based on what I've heard, I think he will suit up, Shane. But I don't think it's very realistic for him to come out here and dominate or anything. You know what I mean? Like maybe near the goal line, we throw him a pass or something like that. I think he'll be a decoy in certain situations. But I do think he's going to suit up. I do think he's going to play. I think it would be on a very limited basis. But his final opportunity to put on that uniform in Sanford Stadium, he's not going to miss it.
Yeah, I think it reminds me a lot of Gronkowski, when he was banged up and they brought him in for a little bit. Not so much, well, I guess more or less a decoy, but still an end zone threat. So right. I think that would be good. One last one, Mike, is Luther. I'm sure they're going to rest him, right, because they care about him and they just want to make sure he's okay, that he plays a long time.
Oh, Eli, he's playing coy, Shane. He says, well, he's been in non-contact jersey. He was asked specifically, is he going to play? He said, I'll know by Friday. And that's all he was going to say. But come on, Luther Burden's suited up. He is.
I feel bad, though. I think one more week rest, wouldn't be a bad idea here.
Yeah, Brock Bowers, play him this week. Rest him for Tennessee. You know what?
That's right.
All right, how about the SEC mailbag? Some great questions here, Shane. So I'm going to dive into it. And these are from all over the internet, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that. So how about this question here, Shane? I knew as soon as I saw this, I was like, this is a Cousin Shane question right here. From Chris Hunter on Twitter, which SEC football coach would you want to bring to Thanksgiving dinner?
Which SEC football coach would I want to bring to Thanksgiving dinner? I think this is the easiest answer of them all, Mike. I can't sugarcoat it. Give me Sam, baby, because not only are we going to eat good, but we'll drink some cold beer after it and talk about the good old days. I think that would be awesome. And this is something that we've talked about a couple of times. I hope there's a long-lasting relationship between Sam and Arkansas, and I'd love nothing more than maybe in the offseason you and I get a chance, an opportunity to go up there to the lake house and open a couple cold beers and talk to Sam Pittman one-on-one. I think that would be awesome. Yeah. That's a bucket list.
Now, obviously, that was going to be my answer too, Shane. So I came with a backup, and I was just hoping and praying you didn't pull a Cousin Shane and name 6 coaches. They did ask for one, but I would go second option, probably Lane Kiffin, Shane. I mean, I think he could give you some good stories. He doesn't drink anymore, but maybe he'll do it on a holiday. He's sitting there with us, cracking back a couple cold ones. And if you get Lane Kiffin loose, I bet you he'd tell you some pretty wild stories, but based on being with Nick Saban, being with Pete Carroll, being in the NFL, Al Davis. I mean, that guy, he's still relatively young, and he's been all over the place. You know what?
Man, if I had an option too, Mike, I have it narrowed down between two. So I'm going to give you three here because that's what Shane does. I got Kirby Smart, I think would be awesome, and Coach Stoops. I've got all this Kentucky bourbon, might as well share it with a Kentucky man. In fact, I think one of them is his. But you just know that once he has a couple of nightcaps, he'll be ready to rock and roll and tell some good stories, just like Kirby Smart. I like those because those guys have been around some serious legends, and just to hear the behind the scenes, from where they started to where they're at now, I think would be awesome.
Yeah. All right. How about this one, Shane, from Andre LaFlame on YouTube? What are the odds Florida fires Billy Napier this year if they lose out the next three, which would be 5 losses in a row? They'd finish with a 5-7 record, would not make a bowl game after making it year one. And I know we kind of, I wouldn't say put him on the hot seat, but kind of question the job he's doing. But I think it's almost 0%. I think it's around 5 to 10%. They'd fire him if they lost out because, who are you losing to? You're losing at LSU, at Mizzou, Florida State's undefeated. It's not like, you're losing to Vanderbilt again and teams of that nature like he did year one. So
yeah,
and he's got a $32 million buyout. Let's not sugarcoat that either, Shane. I know Florida is looked at as it is a top job. But they don't have these big money boosters that A&M has. They really don't. I don't think they got the boosters that Alabama does or Georgia or Tennessee. So I don't know if Florida can afford to do it. And even if they could, Shane, the guy that hired him, this would make him 0 for 2 for hiring football coaches, and they'd fire his ass too. So the man making the decision, he'd get fired too. So I think and of course the recruiting, everybody talks about the recruiting. They're recruiting well. I think it's almost a guarantee Billy Napier comes back unless he loses like 50-0 to Florida State, which I do not see happening.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was thinking 10 in my mind just because, like you said, it's a tough road ahead here. Nobody's expecting them to win any of these games. And if, maybe the fashion, if they lose, if it's a 30, just a blowout, maybe that would make things interesting going into year 3. But firing year 2, I just don't see that happening. But I'm kind of with you. That AD may be on a little bit of a hot seat, though, because if he's not getting the right guy in there, then we need to find somebody that can find those coaches.
Now, if Urban Meyer picks up the phone and says, hey, I want to come back, get your ass out of here, Billy.
Short of that, I guarantee there's a handful of names that if, that they have maybe backdoor conversations and say, hey, listen, if this job opens up,
right,
are you going to take it? Now, if Urban Meyer says, hey, I want to come back down there, you better damn believe they're going to find that money to get Billy out of here.
Yep. All right, how about this one? Mark Wright from YouTube, Shane. It's funny. A lot of these fans, they want to know, can my team make the playoff or can we fire the coach? I mean, that's where we're at right now. What is more negative for Texas A&M? Keep Jimbo for another year or Jimbo getting bought out and the Aggies hiring an unproven coach? I hate to say this, Shane, but I mean, we've been saying it for 2 years now. The more negative, and this is awful that this is the spot they're in, but in my opinion, the more negative is keeping Jimbo Fisher. Shane, he's, according to my buddy Dave Bartu, he does these coaching grades.
Yeah.
Worst Power 5 coach in the last 3 years. In the last 2 years, he's got a -9 coach effect. I mean, it's just awful. They should have fired him last year. We all know they should fire him this moment, but if they keep him, and I don't care what these excuses, I don't care what people, we're going to lose players, yada, yada, yada. The only reason they keep him, Shane, is this massive buyout.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they, I think they got I know they got the money to buy him out, but do they have the money to buy him out and then double that by bringing in another coach? I don't even know if they have enough money to do all that, and I think that's why he's asking about an unproven coach here.
Yeah. Well, I'd like Bartu. I'm curious what Bartu would give our numbers. If what's our host numbers? I'd say they're pretty low right now. But hey, I'm kind of with you here. I mean, that seems like the right answer, but I don't know. Unproven is the word that stands out for me, and I don't think that's what A&M wants. I don't think that's what the boosters want.
No,
they want a track record, and that's what they've been hiring. I mean, these last few coaches, they weren't just nobodies. That they all had a track record. Some of them had national championships under their belt. But year 6, it ain't working, and I'd love to say that, hey, let's just go out and hire somebody. But when you tell me unproven, I think you're better off just keeping Jimbo Fisher here. And it pains me to say, maybe it's the drugs kicking in now or something like that, Mike. But I don't know. I think you got a recruiting class. You got existing classes right now. We've always said the talent's there. But, again, we're starting to see a little bit of Jimbo kind of changing his ways, and you've seen it with bringing an OC down, things like that. Obviously there's going to be some tough conversations at the end of the season on how he can fix this, and if he gets a little extreme and brings some help down there, who knows? Maybe they do take that next step forward.
All right, how about this one, Shane, from B Ford on Twitter? This is another Cousin Shane question, and I think we've done this one before, but the coaches have changed, so we may have a different answer. But he's saying SEC coaches Royal Rumble. Who's the last two standing, and who is the ultimate victor of an SEC head coach's Royal Rumble? Any names jump out to you? And I got one that I think will be in the final 2. You want me to give that to you, or you want to think about it?
I got 3 right now that will be in the final, maybe 4. I've got maybe 4 here, and I don't know how you want to do this, Mike, but since my list is a little bit longer, maybe we'll go with mine real quick. I think Kirby Smart would be in the mix. Yep. Football player, got a lot of – I mean, you've seen it. We've all seen the vertical on the sideline. Guy still got a lot of juice in the tank. I think Coach Lee – I think he would be – I mean, he's just an athlete, always likes to work out. The one I dropped out, I did have Billy, and that was because I saw Arnett. Arnett is an absolute monster. He is the biggest coach. And I would say strength on strength, I think he would be on the list, but I do think there'd be some cheating from some of these other guys. So I've got him. And then last but not least, I'm going to go with maybe I will go back with Billy. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
Sam Pittman, he's a little bit up there, so that's the only thing that would keep him away from it. I feel like Lane Kiffin would do some dirty tricks, which would allow him to possibly stay in the mix. But the one I was going with, Shane, was Clark Lee, former walk-on fullback at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
You've got to be one tough son of a gun to do something like that. So I think he's the ultimate victor, but I do think it would be down to Clark Lee. And you hit the nail on the head, Zach Arnett. I hope he doesn't listen to anything we say here, because he'd whoop our ass if he ever saw us.
Oh, God, yeah. No, I'm glad he walked past our booth, I mean, he is a big old boy. So I'd go, that's what it, I was toying around Billy and Beamer. Those are 2 athletes. And,
right.
They probably get up and work out every day like good people, but I think Arnett is going to be, when it comes down to it, it'd be Arnett and Kirby Smart, those 2, one of those 2.
Right. All right. How about this one from Cody Garrett on Twitter, Shane? It's not really a question, but kind of. But if Ole Miss beats Georgia this weekend, and if Tennessee wins out, which would obviously Missouri upcoming and Georgia, who makes it to Atlanta? It would be Tennessee. Oh, they'd still have to beat Vanderbilt, which, I mean, my God, certainly they could do that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess that was his only question. Who will make it to Atlanta? It would be Tennessee. What percentage chance, 0 out of 100, do you give Tennessee of doing that? Knocking off Mizzou. Well, knocking off Mizzou, beating Georgia, and obviously Ole Miss knocking off. A lot's got to happen there.
5%, Mike. I'd love to be optimistic here, but it's going to take an absolute miracle for all those to go through. Not just Tennessee winning out, but you said Ole Miss beating Georgia, Tennessee beating Georgia, Tennessee not losing to Mizzou at Mizzou. There's so many crazy little pieces that could happen there. So I would say 2 to 5%.
Right, because you could talk me into none of those happening, and I'd say,
yeah,
I believe you. You know what I mean?
Now, if I was drinking that bourbon, and the show's a little bit longer, I could probably get a little higher, maybe the double digits.
All right, how about Mike UK Wildcats on Twitter, Shane? If Kentucky loses to Bama but wins out, I don't know if you've seen this, Shane. Louisville, they're in-state rival. They're like number, I don't know what they are, but they're like 15 or something crazy in the playoff poll. They're not. Surely they can't be the 15th best team in the country, but if that happens, Shane, Kentucky be 8-4 for the regular season. He wants to know if Kentucky went 8-4 this year, would we consider that a successful regular season for the Kentucky Wildcats at 8-4?
And that's including Bama, right?
Losing to Bama, yeah.
Losing to Bama. It didn't give a score or anything.
No.
I think 8-4. No, I don't think so. I had higher expectations for. I'm not saying that we got a hot seat talk or anything like that, but I was optimistic for 10 wins, 9 wins. Right. So 8. No, some things went against them there. So I would love, but ending with Louisville, if they are a top 15 team and you get a big win there, I mean, obviously that's one way to end the season.
Yeah, and. Shane, this you're not happy with the season. This is not what you expected, but in a roundabout way, I think this is where you want to be at Kentucky. Like, yeah, don't crown your coach for going 8-4. Say we got to do better than this. You know what I mean? Because expectations are good. And to your point, that doesn't mean run them off. Doesn't mean anything because that's a credit. I give Mark Stoops a hard time, but that's a credit to his program that 8-4. 10 years ago, they would crown the guy. But here we're sitting saying, I don't think they quite lived up to the hype aside from that big win over Florida. You know what?
Does Leary, is he coming back? Has he got eligibility?
I do not think so. I think this is one and only year.
Well, that sucks, because if you did, again, getting Cohen, and there was a little bit of change there and a little bit of growing pains, I think, they'll be in a better shape coming into next season. So, but, I don't know Leary's situation. I imagine Ray's done too, right?
Well, actually, I'm looking this up right now, Shane. I think he can come back because of the COVID year. Devin Leary can. So
there you go.
Maybe we're cooking here. Maybe we're cooking. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh man, another offseason. That'd be huge for that program.
A break from the show to let you guys know we're brought to you by MyBookie. Head on over to mybookie.ag today. Sign up for an account over at MyBookie with a promo code that SEC, THATSEC, and they are willing to match your initial deposit up to 50%, all the way up to $1,000. So you could have up to $1,500 in your account today with MyBookie.ag. The only thing that makes college football better is betting on college football. Fade Cousin Shane's picks. Go with my locks of the week. That's about as I'm 4 for 5 this year. So that I put that on MyBookie. They're willing me to victory week in, week out here on that SEC podcast. Proud to be sponsored by MyBookie. Quick and easy withdrawals when you cash out big and you win big by listening to me and fading Cousin Shane over at MyBookie. Again, that promo code, that SEC. This is the number one way for y'all to help the podcast this football season. We don't ask for much. We give you all this content for free. The least you could do, throw $50, $100 on a MyBookie account, make some money, fading our picks over at mybookie.ag today. Don't forget that promo code, that SEC. Same deal with our friends over at Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports, and they got the college football. That's why we love Prize Picks. Head on over to Prize Picks. If you sign up with a new account with the promo code SEC, they're willing to match your initial deposit up to $100, 100% deposit. So you could have $200 in your account today over at prizepicks.com. Don't forget, that promo code SEC. Here's Shane's number one podcast, Passionate Runner Podcast. That's his name on
You're
Twitter.
looking at my queue.
To this point, who is the MVP in the SEC? So a little bit different than Heisman, but is there anyone that stands out to you, Shane, that the most valuable player in the SEC this season?
Most valuable. I keep going Daniels. I mean, I know he got banged up. I going back and forth between him and Luther. Those are my two guys right now.
Yeah, this is crazy, Shane. This is absolutely crazy. I'm gonna say Jalen Milroe.
Okay,
just went head to head with Jayden Daniels and won. So, I mean, I think Jayden Daniels is the answer, but I'm just trying to be a little different than you. You know.
Well, yeah, I just because MVP again, kind of like a Heisman. When he got removed from that game, you just knew they were going to lose,
Right.
And him out there, it was like, well, you never know. A couple good drives, and they're back in this thing. So, I mean, the guy plays. I mean, he's just a freak athlete.
Yeah. How about this one from Trey Tucker, Shane? He asks every week. He asks a great question on Twitter. Does Joe Milton have to play his best game of the season for the Vols to win on the road at Missouri?
Best game of the season to win. Yeah. No, I think so. Again, Tennessee fans don't want to. I've seen it. I've seen it floating around there. They look at the last two games, and they've totaled up the points, and they said, this isn't going to be anything. That's because they haven't really been following Mizzou. This is a tough team. This is a team that went back and forth with Georgia Bulldogs, two-time national champ. So, absolutely, Joe has got to keep his foot on the gas. He's been making great steps, great strides, but, if he comes out and plays a damn UTSA or what was the other one, one of them games, Florida Gators.
Austin P, Florida.
Yeah, we're going to get our asses handed to us. So,
hey, I'll disagree. I'm trying to be counter to you, Shane.
Yeah.
I think the defense, specifically the secondary, has got to have their best game. And if Tennessee can run wild, even if Joe Milton doesn't have his best game, I mean, it'll be very, very tough because I highly respect Missouri. But I think they can win, even with Joe Milton not having his best game. But it would be very difficult, I do think.
Yeah, or Nico having a pretty good game.
And then Trey, he always throws in a side question. Did Cousin Shane make you pay a pet deposit when you moved in?
It's funny because a lot of people don't know, but I'm back in next week. The long-time listeners like, damn, Shane, how long you building that house? 3 years? Yeah, we're finally getting in over there. I've been paying one guy to build it. I just give him a pack of cigarettes and a Dr. Pepper every day. We finally got it done. So, our dogs got to meet today, and it didn't go out so well. So we're gonna maybe have to send them out, camp something, counseling.
All right, how about this one from Phil Thompson, Shane, on Twitter? And I know you hate the walking, you hate the questions, but I think you'll like this one. How many miles would Cousin Shane walk for a win over Georgia if it meant Tennessee wins the East?
I would. Oh man,
you did 6 hours.
Here's the deal, Mike. I did 13 miles, and one thing that I hate is that I couldn't do that 0.1 after. Do that half marathon. I just couldn't. I was done. But if Tennessee would go back, I would do the 13.1. If we could go to the SEC championship, absolutely, I would do the 13.1. But it wouldn't be like consecutive. It'd have to be like all day or something.
Right. Chris Campus on Instagram, is Jalen Milroe the best quarterback in the conference going forward?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. Yeah, by a mile here. And again,
wow.
Just look what he was able to do. Look how he's molded against every defense that he's faced here lately. He's not a one-trick pony. He did what LSU allowed them to do. Texas A&M, he did what A&M allowed. Tennessee, it's like he's changing. He's not just doing the same thing over and over. And that's one argument you can say with Jayden Daniels. It's like, hey, if it's not there, he's running. He's not always relied on his legs. He did it last week because LSU left it open for him. So I think right now there's not a quarterback playing better than him.
His confidence is growing week in, week out. The staff has figured out how to utilize him best to his strengths. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue. That could be the answer. All right, how about Southern Sweet Pea on Instagram, Shane? They want to know, should South Carolina, if they fire their defensive coordinator, Clayton White, could they see a turnaround like Arkansas did when they fired Dan Enos and all of a sudden everything clicked? And I think it's a little bit more difficult than that, Shane, because South Carolina's so banged up. They don't have a KJ Jefferson type on defense. They don't have a Rocket Sanders on defense. They got some nice players, but I don't think that's an overnight fix, just firing the defensive coordinator and all of a sudden we're competent on that side of the ball. What do you think?
No, I don't. I think the best thing that can happen for South Carolina is just getting healthy. You know, we keep waiting for Juice to get healthy. Legette's been banged up. You know, if he got a few more pieces, I think your best chance here for defense is just to outscore them on offense. And, you know, if they had all those weapons, they'd be able to.
All right, final one, Shane. I saved this one for last just for you, buddy. From the Sam Bruce on Instagram. How torn is Cousin Shane this week when them balls come to Columbia to face Missouri Tigers? How torn? Don't give away your pick just yet, but how many sleepless nights have you had thinking about this one?
It's tough, man. And usually I like to troll the opposing team. And I feel bad. Like, I'll send a video and I'm like, you think Mizzou fans going to hate that? And I don't want to pander or anything, but I just think that this is going to be such a great game back and forth. And like you said, it's like picking your favorite kid, So eventually I'm going to have to. So wait till Thursday night. I'm going to let you know which one's my favorite.
Well, Shane, I appreciate you, even on short notice, sick notice, on medication, showing up, doing this show, knocking out some of these outstanding questions. We really do appreciate each and every one of them. But you got anything else before we hop off the line?
No, I apologize. It's so short, but me and Mike, we just wanted to make sure you got some content out there, and I'm powering through this. I'll be better tomorrow, so be sure to check us tomorrow at 7. Is that what time we're doing this? 7. We'll be live.
Yeah.
And Professor Shane is going to come through, and I think I'm gonna go undefeated. I think when these drugs kick in, I'm gonna be like Limitless. Doing taxes and shit, So no, I'm looking forward to it, brother, and I can't wait because this is going to be an awesome weekend of college football.
Absolutely. Well, buddy, rest up. Hope you feel better. Appreciate you as always. Appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Go Vols.